Thanks for joining us on a Saturday morning. That's in California, so I know we're from all over, and you may be joining us at your lunchtime, or it could even be evening, but you are all warmly welcome. We have a very esteemed committee um, here today, and we have the World Labyrinth Day coordinator that comes through TLS in partnership. And that's Ellen. Ellen, would you like to say something?
Well, just big welcome to everybody. It's so fun to see the names of the people that I know on the screen and to see your faces, and to see new people too that I don't know. So it's great to have you all here. Thank you. This is the fourth of our pre-World Labyrinth Day pre-World Labyrinth Day webinars. And thank you to Veritas for pulling this together. If you haven't been to one of the webinars, you're in for a treat. And if you have been to the three before, welcome back. We're glad to have you. Thank you for being interested in participating in World Labyrinth Day. Things are heating up. We already have over 90 events registered on the website, which is exciting news because as of last year, there were less than 30 at this point. So people are getting the hang of this and getting excited, and I can feel the momentum rolling. I want to say welcome to the committee members on my steering committee who make my life so easy. Dawn, Carmel is there, Susie's here, and I saw Louise Mason from down under in Australia. She's here. So we all welcome you to this webinar and thank you for being here. It's going to be great.
Thank you, Ellen. Okay, well, Lauren, did you want to make an opening comment?
Well, I'm certainly welcoming everyone. I'm delighted you're here. And this is a wonderful, wonderful event that's building each year. So just the whole momentum behind it, and clearly having this meeting on Zoom, the wonders of Zoom, are really moving us forward. And thanks to Ellen for the leadership and many folks from TLS. And we're stepping forward in a whole new way and continuing to build. So it's just a joy.
Thank you. And we thought we would open our time together today with a meditation, and Judith will be leading us.
Well, thank you, Dawn. And hello, everyone. It's lovely to see faces that are familiar and new faces and faces from the past. And I think that's part of what we do when we gather as Labyrinth folk. You know, there are just all these lovely interweavings. So I want us to just take that in and kind of experience that from the inside. So I would just invite us all to let our eyes close for a moment and do what you do to come into a place of quiet and serenity and equanimity. That's a tall order these days. So take several breaths to find your body and where your body lives at this moment on our beloved mother planet. And in those breaths, each one getting a little deeper and a little bit more grounded, allow yourself just to be, to let the thoughts go, to let whatever has happened in the day so far, just let that be the flow of the river by you right now. So let's all imagine ourselves on our very favorite labyrinth, right in the center. Perhaps the one that you will be conducting a World Labyrinth Day event on. And take a few breaths to get yourself there. And imagine yourself sitting on the ground in this labyrinth. And feeling the presence of this particular place on the planet for a moment. Send some roots down deep into Mother Earth from where you are so that you can draw forth anything you might need in the way of grounding from this particular place. And keep imagining that or knowing that or intending that as you just sit for a moment and feel the flow of you and your labyrinth in your particular place. And then also feel a flow from the cosmos coming through you, from the moon and the stars and the galaxies and the Big Bang, everything that's out there in the wild cosmic world. Draw that into you too on your labyrinth where you're sitting. Imagine a flow. Intend a flow of connection between you and the cosmos and you and the earth, and the connection and the interweaving of those things. And run that through your dear body, through all the rivers of energy that flow through us, so that there's a reciprocity going on between you and place and labyrinth, using the labyrinth as a vehicle to connect. So feeling that peace, serenity, equanimity inside of you for a moment as best you can, then please imagine the wonderful waves of energy that connect these labyrinths all over the world. Labyrinths on every continent. Other beings that are serene and peaceful and present, connecting in the United States and Canada and South America and Africa and Asia and Australia. Just imagine that network, that large connection of all the labyrinths you know are out there. And please partake of that as well. Partake of the collective that will energize you, and then breathe out your intention and your equanimity into that large, large, large network. This is the work we have to do, the easy and difficult task of simply being present and radiating peace and harmony and healing. And allowing the labyrinth to be that place we meet, all of us. Allowing for the peace and the planetary healing to be accomplished. So don't forget, you yourself are part of this flow. You receive as well as give. And for a moment, just imagine the people you may be gathering with you, who will be there on the 4th of May, also partaking of this planetary wave of peace and healing. And take a few more breaths of presence and peace. And only when you're ready, coming back to our Zoom room, ready for this presentation.
Thank you, Judith, for a beautiful beginning. We will now go to Lauren to make a presentation on building community.
Thank you, Dawn. And thank you, Judith. Lovely meditation. Thank you. So building community. We've naturally been doing that as just simply as people are attracted to labyrinths. And here we are online talking about not only building community, but we need to acknowledge we are in community. with the Labyrinth Society and the Legacy Labyrinth Project and Veritas and all that is coming together beautifully over our time together, and meaning these many years, frankly, these many years. I want to build on Judith's meditation. Recently, Veritas has been working with Brian Swim and the whole universe story, and many of you probably have heard that name, but not quite connected what that means. Originally comes from the work of Thomas Berry, a passionate father who kind of began really a great thinker as he was, and a scientist as well as a priest. And the whole sense of the Big Bang. Now, that's sort of an older term for what Brian calls the Great Flaming Fourth. The Great Flaming Fourth. And that energy that started billions and billions, really, he says 13.4 billion years ago, still coming through and creating through the whole universe. And that as that force and energy comes through, the point is we need to acknowledge that we are working with that energy. We are working with that force coming through us. Not only does that mean that every action that we take is either creative or could be destructive, that every action that we do is either building on that or working against that. And of course, this is what the Labyrinth puts us in touch with, is this, that each step we take, each action we take brings forth something new, creative, and hopefully in loving kindness to build community. And so that sense of the kind of universe story that we are now finding through science, a collective creation story. Folks, we are literally made of stardust. Literally made of stardust. And we are part of the universe. We're not superior beings who think that we're just the end all and the be all. We are not. And that's part of the story too. Remember the Neanderthals? Well, somewhere in the future, they'll be talking about these human beings now called the Anthropocenes that we are in this moment. So in creating community, to realize that every action that you take creates, helps, nurtures, heals, that we have those powers. And we're pretty ignorant of those. But here we are welcoming people on May 4th to our labyrinths. And let me just say, this is very basic, but folks, building community is about hospitality. It's about hospitality. And I can remember as a priest at Grace Cathedral and other churches, training people to be on the welcoming committee. And you literally had to tell people to smile. Now, I don't think we're at that level. We get it, you know, okay, there we are. But really, to truly be welcoming, to truly be welcoming. When people don't feel connected to community, I think that's an important question. When does that happen? It happens often and most obviously when people feel out of place. They don't feel welcomed. They don't feel acknowledged. It's maybe new. They've never walked a labyrinth before, or they've never been to that labyrinth before, or they're coming together with people that will be strangers. What's that wonderful phrase? Every stranger is a friend I haven't met yet. And that sense of being present with people. So learning people's names, making sure you're welcoming everyone, having someone there once the walk begins. If you're holding the space at the entrance, you also need to work as a team to welcome people who may come late. That's another reason. People, anytime people are embarrassed, anytime they're embarrassed, like, oh my God, I'm late. What are they going to think? Oh my, you know, the whole walk is, well, okay, you know, I seem to be all right here. I started a little late. I hope I don't finish. You see what I mean? To really help people beyond self-consciousness, to help people beyond, you know, the uneasiness, the possible embarrassment. And so creating community is just really a natural act, and allow yourself to be your host, I think we can use that instead of having the word hostess, but host, whatever. You're welcoming people in a deep, profound way. So that's just kind of the basic groundwork. And I think it's review, frankly. And so the whole sense of being able to be present at the Labyrinth, of course, you're welcoming people, you're holding space. I hope you are working with a team. And if you're thinking about May 4th, you may want to think, who can I invite to work with me? Even if they're trained, even if they're not trained, I mean, who would be helpful? Who would be helpful? So during the walk, usually these are open walks. People come, people go. You could encourage people in the beginning, and I would imagine that most of us would want to form a circle in the center of the labyrinth as you're opening the labyrinth, and allowing people to say their name and not where they're from, because that's sort of international. It's where do they live? I mean, because I'm assuming and hoping that these are really on the ground people coming from 4 blocks away or 2 miles away, but not necessarily getting off an airplane and coming into an event. So that again creates community. Oh, I live right down the street. Oh, me too. You know, that kind of connection you want to have people be meeting one another there. And I would go around twice. I would have people introduce themselves, their name and where they're living. And then secondly, what brought them to this day? What brought them to this day? One of the major tenets of the World Labyrinth Day is that we are part of the collective. We're all stardust, folks. We're all part of this great evolving flaming forth. And that labyrinths are connected and that people are connected. And that the more we connect with one another, the more power that gives to the great flaming forth in our lives. So you're meeting, you're connecting, but people have this sense of collective power, but they don't have words for it. And I don't know that they need words for it, but that's the experience that the labyrinth gives, that we're all walking this path together. We're on a great pilgrimage from death, from birth all the way to death and hopefully beyond. And that sense of connecting up is so very, very important. Now, bringing ritual into your labyrinth walk is important as well. And I could see, even in an open walk, you might have some kind of gift that people get at the end, or maybe in the center you have a bowl of stones with words on them that you might have written on them, or you might order them from Amazon or whatever, but something that people can take home, something that people can have that's a concrete, specific item. In the beginning, when we started Labyrinth Walks at Grace Cathedral, we had a sticker. I walked the Labyrinth at Grace Cathedral, and I cannot tell you how effective that was. And that may even be an idea for another year as well. But so ritual is very important. And Judith, I want to bring you in here because we, this overlaps with what we can do and what we can offer to people besides taking a gift home. I remember the Dream Quest, Judith, where we had the global, the marbles that were Earth. Remember that?
Yes.
People loved that gift.
Yeah.
So come on in.
Okay. Am I going to get pinned in there with you, or
I hope so.
Okay. In the meantime, I think the thing about ritual in general is it takes us to a different state of consciousness. Like if we begin, as you said, with a circle in the center of the labyrinth and everyone says where they live, and then perhaps they mention why they're there. Then after that, if you do a breathing exercise, very simple, whatever works for you, and just kind of take people out of the ordinary world and ordinary time into the realm of what we can call Kairos time, ritual time, dream time. And that sort of invites people to get into a right relationship with themselves in order to have the walk. As we all know, the labyrinth takes us to that liminal space. But if as you're creating a a program on World Labyrinth Day, you can use that inner space to ready people for what they need to do. So again, I mean, I think what makes such a difference about all this is however you are in your state, that's what you transmit. So getting yourself ready before the whole walk, just to be connected to anything that is important and sacred to you, then that naturally comes through in your voice and in the words you choose to welcome people. But I do think that's a lot of what ritual making is about. Simple and less words and more breath and more body, because embodying the great flaring forth is what we're after here, isn't it? I mean, to know that in our bones and to know our interconnectedness with the collective, that's not an intellectual process. It's an inner process. So I think that's where ritual really is really important. Yeah, I think the other things that can help in that direction are having some music. And if you like to sing a simple song of welcoming, or perhaps even at the end, some kind of a sounding together, anything that brings us out of our usual heady minds into our hearts. So singing often does that. And we can certainly put some things in the chat as suggestions, but primarily it's whatever you've already got in your back pocket. Each of us as facilitators, what really works for you, what's familiar to you, how you bring forth your own good heart and presence that will transmit to people.
So Judith, the one thing about the songs and singing, I mean, I wouldn't risk singing.
Yeah.
You would. And I
Yeah.
have a feeling that I'm not alone in this group.
Yeah, I know.
So I have invited people to hum.
Yeah.
I mean, that works really well for me, that we can hum and then it swells and it quiets and it
Yeah.
swells but it is getting literally in the same vibration.
Yeah, that really does it. And also out of the head, and humming is the easiest thing that we can all do together.
Yeah, yeah. And also the shanty chimes.
Yeah.
Those work very, very well to move around the group
Yeah.
before the walk. We
Yeah.
haven't talked about ending the walk yet, but
No.
that's if usually in ritual, if I do it at the beginning, I'll do it at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I might, if I do the shanty chimes in the beginning. Now these are open walks,
Mm-hmm.
but if you can encourage people to stay until the end and hold the space, they may not know that phrase, but to be present
Mm-hmm.
there, and then do the shanty chimes at the end.
Yeah, and even if it's an open walk and people are coming and going, maybe the last group of people that are there are the ones that close the labyrinth. So the labyrinth holds it all.
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what people are there. And if it's a walk that is at one, as one at one, then there is an ending to it, perhaps at 1:30 or something. So
Mm-hmm.
it depends on what walk people are doing. But I agree with you. I think the beginning and end should have some resonance with each other, and some echo of the theme that you are talking about. And since the theme this year has to do with peace and planetary healing, that those words are sprinkled through the different things that the facilitator says.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in any group there might be a musician, there, and if you have a friend who plays an instrument or sings, invite them along, because collaboration in these things is so important, and also models what we're after: connection and community and collaboration.
Right. In that sense, when we say we want peace, well, and I can't say that everybody wants peace. I mean, there's a lot of
Mhm.
money in chaos and
Yeah.
more, but to bring it home, and I think that's what ritual does, and that you're so expert at, to bring it home into the body and to bring it home into your home. Is there peace in your home?
Mm-hmm.
What makes peace in your home?
Mm-hmm.
To really bring it close to home is very important.
Yeah, and we have to be it, like Amanda Gorman said it. I have it on my wall here. There is always light if only we are brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. I think she gave us a wonderful thought there that's embodying and being present with.
Yeah. And
So
I'm mindful of, I think it's Thich Nhat Hanh's prayer about peace in the home, peace in
yeah,
the village, peace in the, and so reading a poem,
yeah,
something briefly,
yeah.
when you're in the center,
Mhm.
uh, but brief. A lot of times people don't relate to poems if they're lengthy,
Yeah.
but if they're pithy,
Mhm. Yeah.
it works well. So, and also I think I neglected to say that when you're in the circle in the beginning, not everybody may have walked the labyrinth.
Mhm.
Um, so you might need to do a brief basic presentation,
Mhm.
and then introduce your role as welcoming people into the labyrinth. And also, we have a tendency to greet our friends and then to kind of ignore the people we don't know.
Mhm.
So to really be all inclusive, and again, that's what ritual does.
Mhm. It
Rit-
does, and it makes it kind of levels the playing field. We're all in it together as breathers of the world,
Mhm.
and not, our credentials in the world or who we think we are, So it is a definite lovely thing. In these days post COVID and everything, I've begun to have people hold hands again. Certainly last couple of years, and there is something about what happens when you touch hands with someone and you really feel the presence that is really potent. And but that's a choice each individual facilitator makes about each walk too, and
Mhm.
some people may or may not be comfortable with that, so there are a lot of considerations about that sort of thing.
Yeah, the alternative I've been using is to place your hands over your
Yeah,
heart,
yeah.
and that's, but if people are holding hands and then someone else, 'cause in a hospital setting, I just
Mm.
automatically place
Yeah.
your hands over your heart. Holding hands in a hospital, folks, is not a great idea.
Yeah, I think we're getting into this thing about how we improvise with given situations. I mean, if you're in this labyrinth world, you've got to be really flexible, right? I mean, we've
Yes.
we've had that experience, Lauren, of how do you just flow with whatever is coming your way? And often that's just a skill and an art to, what happens if you're on the labyrinth and there's an earthquake? What do you do? Or
Yeah.
there's, a sudden gust of wind and everyone notices it. So being present with whatever is happening and going with the flow, that is really, I think that really is the key to it all.
And I think the labyrinth really teaches that,
Yeah.
and as a skilled facilitator, and the folks in this group that are in this meeting are are skilled facilitators, and you can always gain skill. You
Mhm.
can always gain skill. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And even when things go awry, that's something to learn from too.
that's right.
And things do go awry. That happens.
It sure does, and but not that often, and yet, and also that's the skill of handling it for sure.
Well,
It's,
I think what you have always said about everything that happens on the labyrinth is a metaphor. That's always a good thing to mention. There's some things to kind of mention in the beginning part of this when everyone's still in their heads, that you say things like, please consider everything that happens on the labyrinth a metaphor.
mhm.
And I also always like to say our psyche knows how much time we have to process what's going on.
That's right.
Trust that.
That's right.
So, and to even to see the idea that, maybe what happens right now won't be part of your consciousness until 3 months from now.
That's right.
Like
That's right.
any of the gifts that come out of this liminal time usually take a while to integrate with themselves and come into your life paths. So those kind of things make people happy. And as well as at the end, mentioning that we have been in a special space all together on the labyrinth, and be gentle with yourself as you go back to the world. Uh,
Yes.
I,
Yes.
I really always make that kind of comment that not everybody out there has been in here, at least in Dream Quest, and that is a longer ritual. But I
Well,
think any labyrinth walk takes us to a different space.
it does. And one of the things too, is we're kind of pulling together what we might want to make sure people say or think about saying, if maybe if it's appropriate. And that is, if the labyrinths are crowded with too many people, that feels okay. Of course, you are spacing people, so to be aware of that. But also sometimes people, especially new people to a labyrinth, expect they're going to drop into some deep meditation. So
Mhm.
handling expectations
Yeah.
is important, but also I encourage people to, when they're walking, not to try to meditate within, but to behold is the word I use.
Mhm.
Behold people, and so it's an open-eyed, respecting, honoring every person that they see that's walking the path together with them, because
Yeah.
we are all walking the path together.
Yeah. And it's a rare opportunity to get to pay attention to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very much so. Thank
Well,
you, Judith. Mhm.
Yeah.
thank
Thank you,
you,
Lauren.
Lauren and Judith. Nice to have you in conversation with each other. We're going to move on now to Lars Howlett, and he'll be talking about temporary labyrinths and the power of placement.
Great. Wow. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and happy to share with you today. So, these are some examples of labyrinth walks that I've hosted or created. And this is at the Parliament of World Religions, which Veritas presented 2 labyrinths at and also gave a presentation. And you can see we've laid out a canvas labyrinth indoors, and music can be interactive as well, especially now um, with sound healing. And so we had a local facilitator, Eileen Wolfington, who brought bowls, both metal and crystal bowls. And so you can see we tried something new, which we'd never done before, which is to actually have someone stand in one of her large bowls, and we would gong the bowl, and you would feel the vibrations and sound, all around you and within you, which was kind of an incredible ritual before walking into the labyrinth. And Eileen also had one that she could carry around, a glass bowl that she could play and kind of bless people and bathe people in sound and energy. And she also had this beautiful labyrinth shirt, which you might consider having, on the day of the World Labyrinth Day event, would be to have a labyrinth shirt to kind of identify yourself as a person on the labyrinth, or if you have a team. But we also set up a labyrinth outdoors, and this is something that we don't often think about, but why not have 2 labyrinths or 3 labyrinths at your event? We always tend to just think that one is enough, but at this conference, we thought it would be beneficial to have 1 labyrinth indoors in the center of everything, which was highly visible and protected from rain and all of that. But we also wanted people to have a refuge away from the conference, outdoors in the open air. And so I created this labyrinth with tape, masking tape. And you can see I also created a temporary sign. This is just printed on large, like 3 foot by 4 foot paper and mounted onto foam core. And I had this sign there because we weren't going to be there the whole time facilitating. So I always think about signs as stand-in facilitators. Um, and then what was really interesting was I created this labyrinth for peace and refuge and calm, stress reduction. And there was an artist there who was creating a installation about gun violence. And she came over and she said, would you mind if I set up these ribbons around the labyrinth? And at first I was kind of taken aback because they're bright orange and kind of loud. And my labyrinth was supposed to be all about peace. But I love collaborating with people, and you have to be open to synchronicity and kind of, as Judith was saying, improvisation. And so we said, sure, I already had it kind of roped off so people wouldn't walk through the labyrinth. But she took these orange ribbons, and she has 30,000 orange ribbons representing children in the United States who have been killed by gun violence since the Sandy Hook um, massacre tragedy. So it was incredibly powerful to contain this kind of beautiful healing space and surround it by this symbol and kind of memorial to lives lost to gun violence. And Also, there were wildfires happening at the time in Australia, and we'd been through several bad seasons of fire in California. And so to me, it kind of felt more honest to recognize, the violence and the fire kind of surrounding our planet these days. And in the center of the labyrinth was a giant satellite image of the Earth, which is actually a tablecloth. So um, in the end, I felt like it was a really great balance to have the labyrinth contained by this symbolic, thing. But then when you got to the center, you could really come to yourself and connect to the Earth as a whole. And so, I bought this tablecloth for like $30 and I taped it to the center. It's actually 4 feet wide. It looks small here, but it's a large tablecloth. This is a large labyrinth. The pathways are, I think, 2 feet wide. So, and it's a simple 5-circuit labyrinth too. And I think when you create temporary labyrinths for events, I think simple is better. So to have a large labyrinth with 2-foot pathways and only be 5 circuits, I think really works well, especially if you think you'll have a lot of people there. You can also do taped labyrinths indoors. You want to test your floor and see that your tape is not going to pull up a varnish or affect your carpet. But this was at Labyrinth Summer School. And so you can see another 5-circuit labyrinth that we created for our rituals at summer school. My other favorite material is flagging ribbon. And this is a labyrinth that I created at the New Living Expo in San Rafael. And what you use is this, you can get it at the Home Depot or wherever, and it's used usually to tie around trees for marking. But I actually used in this labyrinth, it's called bird scare ribbon, which is like a holographic ribbon that they put on vineyards to keep birds away, but it sparkles in the sunlight. And so using landscape staples and this bright ribbon is really attractive. If you're going to have kids there, I think, something like this kind of draws people in. It's a little more playful, different energy. I had holographic pinwheels around it as well. One in the center, around the perimeter, and then a couple at the entrance. So, and I've never used this before. So this was another new thing for me to play with the holographic ribbon, but I would definitely recommend it and do it again. If you want to be low impact and use a natural material, then this is cornmeal that we used at Reed College on Earth Day last year. So we purchased a field marker that you use for like sports fields, and we filled it up with cornmeal. And you can see there's a center stake, and we ran the cornmeal around, and it was really beautiful. So very nice labyrinth. You can see again, we have signs with little reflections or sayings. And this was offered to students on Earth Day. And there was even a little tree in the center where you could write a intention or affirmation or blessing or prayer and tie it to the tree. And you can see here's our kind of information booths and larger signs. And these are also natural materials. So on the tree is with just a string and paper. And then the geese came that night and ate up the labyrinth and took it away, and the labyrinth flew off to another land. So it was pretty neat how that was. And then this was kind of my ultimate temporary labyrinth. But again, you can see this idea of centering a labyrinth in this space. And you want the labyrinth to have a feeling of container. So if you have a large space where you're creating a labyrinth or even laying out a canvas labyrinth, try to have the labyrinth be held in the space. If you're making the labyrinth, you can actually fill the space with the labyrinth, which is what I did on the beach in Santa Monica. And again, I decided to make 2 labyrinths instead of just one, and we used a trenching shovel to kind of draw the labyrinth into the sand. And then this is what it looked like. So it was actually a double spiral wave that then goes to a sun kind of setting or rising out of the ocean. And this is a more traditional labyrinth that you walk to the center and retrace your steps back out again. And this is a meander that goes from the museum to the boardwalk bike trail. So it's connecting the 2 spaces as well. So this was a fun project. And what we did was we put little flags so that it wouldn't get lost. People would be able to see where they were going. But then we left all these Sharpies and invited people to write, again, prayers, blessings, intentions, and the flags were already planted in the labyrinth, but they could go around and pick up a flag and then write on it and put it back into the labyrinth. And they also wave in the breeze and invite people in and encourage people to pause. You know, children that often just run through the labyrinth when they have the opportunity to write in it took a lot of time to sit and draw and write. And I mean, look at all these people. You need wide pathways though, because people kind of sit down everywhere in the labyrinth. But we didn't offer any specific intention, but a lot of the intentions that came through were about world peace and connecting to community. And as Judith was and Lauren were saying about holding hands, another option would be to have a rope. And this was earlier in the pandemic, but we used a rope that everyone held together or a string of prayer flags. And you can wind your way through a labyrinth, everybody connected by holding a rope or holding hands. So I know some of those were ambitious, but I do have a handout that I'm going to put in the chat, which is the simplest way to create a temporary labyrinth. And we actually did this webinar 2 years ago for World Labyrinth Day about quick and easy labyrinths, where you just make a spiral and then you convert the spiral into a labyrinth. So I'll put that. So, don't feel overwhelmed about building labyrinths. There are simple ways to do it.
Thank you so much, Lars. We're really getting lots of good ideas for doing a labyrinth walk with meaning and heart. We thought what we would do now is I wanted Ellen to make a comment now, and then Carmel will close our circle, and I'll have some announcements after that.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everyone, as we were talking about ritual and intention, that the intention for World Labyrinth Day for all 16 years that it's happened has been to walk as one at one. And when you're doing your ritual with people, you can remind them that, they are helping to create a wave of peace all around the world. And on that note, I would like to pass this over to Carmel, who we're so grateful. She kind of, as we do these events and we talk about how to prepare them and the logistics and how to get people there and all that, sometimes we forget our hearts, sometimes. And Carmel urged us to stop and really prepare for World Labyrinth Day. And I'm so grateful for that. And she created this intention that she's going to share with you. We use it before every World Labyrinth Day meeting. We urge you to use it before you gather. If you're planning anything, you could even use it, daily yourself as you walk a labyrinth to prepare. So Carmel, could you lead us with the intention?
Thank you, Ellen. My pleasure. So this practice is intended to prepare all participants, venues, and hosts for our World Labyrinth Day. We seek to prepare our hearts and those of all who will walk for peace and planetary healing as one at 1 o'clock on World Labyrinth Day. We join our intentions to connect and prepare and advance the venues and labyrinths that will be used, and to raise awareness of the event worldwide. So join in this practice of intention with us. I will lead you in a guided meditation to bring us all together in this moment before I read the intention to you. The intention will be found in your chat box, and you can go to the worldlabyrinthday.org website and print out some little cards that you could actually hand out at your events if you'd like. So let's reconnect with Judith's opening and just re-invite that river of flow back into this time right now. Go ahead and sit in a comfortable position, straighten your back, close your eyes, relax your face, and drop your shoulders. Notice your surroundings and be present to it. And in your own tradition, begin to center and connect with the rhythm of your breath and the beat of your heart. Reintroducing those cleansing breaths, let's breathe together. 3 inhales and exhales. Inhaling in, deep, 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 and exhaling. Again, inhaling deep, fill your lungs to the very bottom and go ahead and release with a whoosh. And one last cleansing breath in. And breathing out, we release all that does not serve us well. Any thoughts, feelings, sensations that are keeping you from relaxing into the present moment. Think about those who will walk on World Labyrinth Day. Picture in your mind the thousands of labyrinths around the world being connected energetically. Think of our legacy labyrinth, sacred sites. Notice the beating of your heart. Let go of active thinking. Empty your mind and welcome spaciousness. Continue your slow, deep breathing, quieting your mind, connecting to your heart space. Feel your cleansing breath unifying your whole being. Feel love expand. Let love flow into and from your heart space. Welcome this embodiment as peaceful, shining light within you and all around you. Welcome gratitude. Perhaps place one hand on your heart as an act of anchoring into your heart space. Continue breathing slowly, settling deeper into your heart space. As we move into the intention, I will read it 3 times. On this first read, listen deeply. The hosts, participants, and all labyrinths are connected in peace and planetary healing on World Labyrinth Day. On the second reading, repeat it to yourself. The hosts, participants, and all labyrinths are connected in peace and planetary healing on World Labyrinth Day. So on this third reading, let it become entrained, a part of you. Let it sink in. The hosts, participants, and all labyrinths are connected in peace and planetary healing on World Labyrinth Day. And we hope that you will continue this practice with us. think we're going to have a few announcements now, Dawn. Is that correct?
Thank you so much, Carmel. And thanks to you all for coming, being present, and being community around the labyrinth. Remember, we have a Finger Labyrinth Walk on April 26th that will be focused on intention and compassion and will be led by Chris Katzenmeyer from the Legacy Labyrinth Project. It's one of our pre-World Labyrinth Day events hosted by Veriditas. So if you're interested, you can go to our website or World Labyrinth Day website. If you aren't out there walking an actual labyrinth on World Labyrinth Day, or even if you are, come and join Lauren Artris on World Labyrinth Day at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Time for a handheld labyrinth walk. And again, these links you can register both on the Veriditas site and on the World Labyrinth Day website. If you do have an event that you're doing, please register it on the World Labyrinth Day website. Thank you all.
And Dawn, in addition to some of the things that are on the worldlabyrinthday.org website, you can also submit one of your favorite photos from your event that could make it into our 2024 photo montage that Ellen puts together for us. There's also a very important feedback survey that we're asking all the facilitators to do for us so we can start to track our growth and see where we need to improve.
Also, I just wanted to remind everyone that there's so many resources on the website where there's a template that you could fill out to stick at your Starbucks or at your church bulletin board or your temple, wherever your faith community might be. And you can fill that out with your information. And we have the Timeless Flyer translated into 12 languages now, which we're very proud of as a committee that we've done that. More to come.
Have a wonderful weekend and an amazing World Labyrinth Day celebration. Bye.
Peace on your path.
For now.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.